How's it going, everyone? And welcome to Season 2 of the cycle. I made a previous patch notes video and got pretty good feedback on it to continue making types of videos like this, so I figured let's just jump straight into the Season 2 patch notes. This is a very long list of stuff. I will link the patch notes in the description below if you feel like reading them. I'm not going to go over every single little detail in the patch notes, just the major stuff that I think is very valuable to the player base to know, but if you want to read everything, it'll be down in the description below. All right, so maintenance time starts at 10 a.m. CEST. You can go ahead and type that into Google and translate that into your own time zone and figure out exactly when the servers are going down. Typically, it takes a couple of hours for the servers to come back up, so I wouldn't wake up early expecting to play at the exact time that the servers go down. I would at least give it a few hours for everything to kind of work itself out and make sure there's no hiccups or errors or bugs in the system. Next, we're going to jump into what you will keep and what you will lose in the new season of the cycle. You're going to keep any unlocked or purchased skins that you purchased throughout Season 1. You'll keep any unspent Aurum that you didn't use. You'll also get any skins or Aurum that you unlocked but didn't claim from the Battle Pass, as well as any unclaimed Twitch drops that you have sitting in your claiming station. You will start the new season with any gear that you get from one of the welcome packs if you purchase those, as well as the starting gear that you typically get from bottom. Everything else you will lose moving into the new season. All right, on to the next part, probably the most important part. The new map is here. I have a whole video tour of the map going live at the time of the release, so if you want to check that out, I'll have that linked down in the description below as soon as I am allowed to let that video go live. One of the main things of the new map is that if you jump into the void, the huge bottomless caverns, you will not get paid out for your insurances. So if you were going to use that as a tactic for running away from cheaters or running away from players, don't do it unless you're willing to lose the gear just so that they don't get it. You will not get paid out in Aurum or get your weapons back or get your K-marks back. With the new map being introduced, the Forge is now available for everyone to use on Tharis Island. I will be having a whole entire video going over every single thing about the Forge that you need to know, all the different recipes as we learn them, but Jaeger had limited us in the test server to the amount of time we could actually show off the Forge in our tour videos. So be expecting a new video coming soon on all the stuff you need to know about the Forge. All right, next jumping into improvements to the game. Crescent Falls and Tharis Island will be locked behind quests, so you need to do the quest lines to actually get onto those maps now. That's different from Season 1. Crescent Falls was not quest locked, but now it is. You will get access to Crescent once you've completed the first quest lines where the Prospectors gain the trust of the factions. Tharis Island can be accessed roughly halfway through the campaign's completions, so you're going to want to grind halfway through one of the respective factions to be able to get to Tharis Island. This next update is huge. We've been waiting for something like this. Trusted status queue. Essentially what this means is there's going to be a bunch of different factors behind the scene, such as account age and purchase history, to determine your trusted status. Trusted parties will get in their own separate matchmaking queue with other trusted parties. You can still play with non-trusted players, but if you play with a non-trusted player, you will be put in those non-trusted queues. This is huge in deterring cheaters because you actually have to maintain a singular account over a period of time to get into the trusted queues. So these cheaters that are getting banned on the regular and just making new accounts, they will not be able to get into these trusted queues. This is huge, and this is what we've been waiting for and asking for. We also have to go along with this huge anti-cheat improvements. I can't go into full details. There's not a lot of details given, but it should be way more difficult to cheat in the game now, which is awesome, and I cannot wait to see how Season 2 pans out with this. Another huge feature that we've been asking for since day one was the ability to reconnect to a raid if you disconnect or your game crashes. That is finally in the game. Now, with that being said, you will be vulnerable while reconnecting. Kind of like Apex and all those other games that you can reconnect in. You're standing still, so you can get shot and killed while you're reconnecting. We also have a new Fortuna Battle Pass. You can go ahead and open up the patch notes in the description if you actually want to scroll through it yourself. There's a lot of different skins, a lot of new stuff that they added in this Battle Pass. The skins are great. I think everyone's going to enjoy these much more than the Season 1 Battle Pass. They put a lot of time and effort into these, and I cannot wait to start grinding and unlocking all the stuff in the Battle Pass. Jumping into the overall changes of the game, there are some gear changes to armors and shields and weapons. They increased the armor and pen values for exotic weapons, helmets, and shields from 29 to 30 pen. They also increased armor and pen values for legendary weapons, helmets, and shields from 32 to 33. Now, they say legendary weapons, helmets, and shields. Shields. So they're hinting at something there, because why would they have included that in the patch notes? Attack and resto shields now match the armor rating of the regular versions, so like they now have the same armor rating as the regular versions of those armors. Blue resto shields now require 8 Rattler skins instead of 5, as well as blue tack shields also requiring 8 Rattler skins and 2 Pale Ivy Blossoms instead of 5 Rattler skins and 1 Pale Ivy Blossom. There were a lot of weapon changes also introduced in this patch. I'll kind of scroll through them. I'll put the images on the screen here, but I'm going to highlight a few key ones that I noticed jumped right out to me immediately. The bolt price, so the white bolt that everyone can buy right away, was increased from 6,800 K marks to 10,000 K marks. Not a huge increase, but it will add up. If you keep just bringing in a white bolt to every raid, that cost is going to start adding up over time. The Phasic Lancer got increased refire time from 0.26 to 0.35. So essentially what this is going to mean is that once you shoot between those bursts of bullets when you have to click, there's going to be a longer delay between the actual bursts, as well as it also got an increase in the projectile speed by 10%. So those bullets are going to fly a little faster. The Gorgon also saw a similar change where the shots per burst were increased from 11 to 15, and the vertical recoil was reduced by 15%. The Gorgon might actually slap now. One of the biggest letdowns I saw of the weapon changes was the Comrade. The projectile collision was reduced by 75%. And now I don't know if this was silently introduced at the end of Season 1, because I swear my Comrade bullets were not doing any damage and the projectile square was so small. You literally had to shoot them dead on or they did not get hit at all. So I don't know if that was silently introduced or if this is going to be even smaller now. I guess we'll have to find out. Jumping into another huge part of the patch notes, there are new grenades. There are 3 different types of grenades. There are light grenades, standard grenades, and assault grenades. The light grenades are going to have 10 pen and a radial damage of 84. The standard grenades are going to have 17 pen and a radial damage of 81. And the assault grenades are going to have 30 pen and a radial damage of 81. The assault grenades sound insane. Cannot wait to get hold of some of those and use those to see how they work out. Gas grenades can no longer be bought. They have to be crafted, and they're locked behind a quest line, which I think is great. The gas grenade spam at the end of Season 1 was awful. I hated it. It was the worst thing I've ever had to deal with, so I took advantage of it as much as I possibly could, just like everyone else, but I'm glad they made this change. Next, we have some stuff going into the lore side, so if you're into lore and learning about Fortuna, learning about the different creatures, you now have access to Badoom's Codex. When you finish the tutorial, you can now go back up to him in the bar, and you can access the Codex to learn more about the world of the cycle and some more lore about the creatures, the planets, and the quest lines. Crescent Fall had some changes. The loot tiers have now been rebalanced in the northwest part of the map. Nutrition Warehouse is now a Tier 5 zone, and the home section is now updated to a Tier 4 zone. I'll have some heat maps on screen of a before and after so you can kind of get a feel for what changed. So if you are planning on playing Crescent a lot, you'll be able to see exactly the different tiers of loot zones now that they ended up changing. They did make some changes to the AI, specifically Marauders. They increased its weak spot damage multiplier from 5 to 10. They increased the first stagger threshold from 10% damage within 1 second to 30% damage within 1.5 seconds. They also increased the second stagger threshold from 20% damage within 1 second to 50% damage within 1.5 seconds. So if you do end up staggering a Marauder and hitting them in their weak spot, you will do a lot more damage than you did before. The Marauder will now also move around a lot more within its roaming radius, so you'll see them kind of creeping around, being a little suspicious and weird a lot more than they used to. They also made some changes to the combat of the Marauders. The puddle attack has now been changed, thank God. The puddles only stay on the ground for 30 seconds now instead of 10 minutes like they used to. That was so annoying. I'm so glad they made this change. But along with that, the puddles now do twice as much damage as they used to. So instead of 5 damage per second, it is now 10 damage per second. There's also a new melee attack for the Marauder, so now there is going to be a quick swipe attack that does not expose the Marauder's weak point, and their melee pattern now alternates between the new quick attack that needs to be dodged and the old heavy attack that needs to be interrupted by staggering it. Jumping into the next part of the patch notes, there were a lot of visual changes to some of the artwork in the game to make it look a lot better. I'll put those changes on screen, so if you want to pause the video and take a look at them. I think this is just going to add to the overall look of the game and aesthetics and make it just look a lot more clean and nice. They did make some changes to the campaigns. Factions did get tweaked and adjusted. Quest lines now have been changed and expanded with a total of 48 new missions. That is awesome. I blew through the quests so fast last season, so I'm glad that there's some new quests that I can actually work on and give me something to work towards. Existing missions have been made less repetitive, as well as new campaigns will guide you through to Tharis Island. Jumping into the miscellaneous changes. There were some changes to keycards, and they adjusted the durability of a lot of keycards. So the server access key now goes from 8 to 15 uses. The mine access key is now going from 5 to 8 uses. Tall house key is going from 5 to 15 uses. Bright Sands observation key is going from 8 to 10 uses. Skeleton key from 12 to 8 uses, so they reduced that. The armory key is staying the same at 12 uses. The luggage safe room key is going from 12 to 5 uses. Boss's office from 18 to 5. Janitor key from 15 to 20. Garage office from 12 to 8. Overseer's office from 8 to 10. Loose house key from 5 to 15. Lab key card from 18 to 5. Bar storage key is staying the same at 8. And the community room key from 18 to 5. They also added a lot of new loot points where natural resources, mineral nodes, and questline relevant items will spawn. They've added more varied NPC lines thanks to a new voice acting budget. They increased the overall stash size by 5 slots. The reason being is now old currency now weighs 0.001 per old currency, and scripts now weigh 0.1 per script. This change is to help prevent against RMTing or real money trading or real world trading, however you want to go with it. But essentially, they implemented this so that there's no more infinite stacking of these items in your safe pocket so that cheaters or people who are selling items can't just drop in and drop you a million K marks when you pay for it. That shouldn't be allowed, and I'm glad they put this change in. In addition to being able to refine nickel in the station, it is now possible to upgrade Titan ore and Veltosite of all qualities. Unfortunately, you cannot upgrade to Veltosite hearts still, so you won't be able to do that for your quest lines. You'll have to still find those or trade for them. The player quarters now requires some of the Tharis Island items, so you will have to go onto the new map in order to get items to upgrade your player quarters to max if you do decide to do that. Jumping into the last section of the patch notes here, they did adjust and polish some animations for first-person weapons as well as some third-person animations. Birds will now fly away before storm starts. You will now be able to hear other players running, walking, crouching, or jumping on pebbles instead of that annoying noise anytime you would walk on them. It's really, really freaking annoying. I'm really glad they made this change. Glass and bushes only trigger sounds after a certain threshold of movement now instead of just 1 pixel of movement. Thank God. Now you can actually sit in bushes and not make a ton of noise every time you just move a little bit. They did increase the uplink activity radius. They didn't really go into detail what this means, whether that means the sound is just going to be able to be heard from a greater distance, or whether that means that the mobs are just going to be attracted to it from a greater distance. The death recap screen will now show additional information such as helmets and shields, and they also added the ability to sort your items in the selling menus, which I know I've tried to do many times, and it was annoying that it wasn't able to be done before, so I'm glad they made that change. There were about 365 bug fixes with this new patch, so I'm not going to go into any of them. If you want to look at the patch notes, it'll be in the description below like I mentioned earlier. And there also are some known issues with the Tharis Island map where there's some hitboxes that they know about that need to be changed and fixed. I'm sure they're going to be coming out with hot fixes and patches to work around those and fix those in the near future. So bear with the devs. They put a lot of time and effort into this update and a lot of time and effort into the new map. So give them a chance to kind of fix the stuff that you can kind of work around right now. Give them a break, let them kind of fix what needs to be fixed first, and make sure that the cheating problem is gone and the trusted queue system is working properly and the reconnect feature is working properly before they go ahead and change all these small things on Tharis Island that aren't really game breaking. That wraps up this video with the patch notes. I know this was a very long video. This patch note was huge, so I apologize for that. But hopefully this is better than just sitting down and reading it. Kind of just listen along, and I have some PvP in the background for you to watch while you're listening. If you did end up making it here to the end of this video, I do greatly appreciate that. Please consider leaving a like, comment, subscribing for more content like this. And if you're not already following my Twitch, it'll be linked down in the description below, as well as join my Discord to get notified when I upload a YouTube video and go live on Twitch, and to be able to be entered into the giveaways for Season 2. Thank you guys so much, and I'll see you in the next video.